Today we're in the home of Ole H. Bakken at Route 5, Decorah. We're going to discuss some of his memories relating to the Madison Lutheran Church and to Madison Township and to the Bakken family here, who's been in the Madison area for many, many years, I suppose way over a century. Ole, now you just celebrated your, what, 90th birthday? You just celebrated your 90th birthday here when? In January? What is your birthday?
January 17th.
January 17th. And you turned
1901.
1901.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, were you born in the hospital or?
No, I was born in a log house.
You were born in a log house.
Right over here.
That house wasn't there at the time then?
A little bit, log house, a little bit further north.
A little bit further north, okay. So you were born in a log house. When was that house built? Do you know?
1906, I believe.
That was 1906, okay, so...
No, I ain't too sure, but it says on the cornerstone over there.
Oh, it does? Okay. Well, I have a cornerstone on the house that I live in, too.
Yeah.
Now, your dad built that house or your grandpa?
My dad.
Your dad built that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were born in a log house, and your mother passed away when you were, how old were you when you were?
Well, she passed away in December 6, 1909, I suppose.
1909, okay, so you were...
I was 10 in January.
Uh-huh, so you were just 9, almost 10.
Yeah.
Okay, now your dad was Gus Bakken.
Yeah, G.E. Bakken.
G.E. Bakken, and your mother her first name was?
Helena.
Helena. And she was a Malice?
A Malice, yeah.
Okay. Now, what was her father's name? Or your grandpa?
Hans Malice.
Okay. And was their farm north of Ridgeway, or where did they live?
Yeah, north of Ridgeway, about 2 miles.
Okay. How many other people were in the Malice family you can remember? Did she have some brothers and sisters?
Well, she had 4. My mother and Olena and Mariah and Clara and what was the name of the youngest one? Christine.
Christine. Okay. Did you know all these people then?
Yeah.
Did they belong to Madison, or did they go to Orleans or Ridgeway?
No, they belonged to...
They were all Madison people.
I think so.
And all the Bakkens belonged to Madison too,
Yeah.
didn't they? Okay. Now, you were baptized at the Madison Church?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure you went to confirmation there?
Yeah, everything in the medicine.
Now, did you go to confirmation at the church or at the parsonage, or where did they hold that?
Well, there was a schoolhouse right by the church we usually met.
Okay. Which direction from the schoolhouse or from the church was that?
Oh, a little bit, well, it'd be southwest.
Southwest of the present church?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, okay. Was that on Saturdays then that you went to confirmation?
Tuesdays.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday evening or Tuesday?
Tuesday morning from 9 to 12.
Tuesday morning, 9 to 12. Okay. And that was all Norwegian then? You didn't speak English or?
No.
That was all?
I couldn't talk English at that time.
Oh, really? How old were you before you could speak English?
Oh, about 10, I suppose.
About 10. Okay. And Norwegian was spoken in the homes and the church services were in Norwegian and everything? Yeah. Okay. How many years did you go to confirmation?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. You had to memorize a lot of Bible passages in the catechism, and did you have to get in front of the church then before you were confirmed?
Yeah. We had the catechism, we had to learn so much of that, and then we learned the questions in the, I don't know just what you call that book. There was questions and that you answered them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that was a 2-year program.
Yeah.
Okay, then before the actual confirmation then, did you have to get up in front of the congregation? Did they ask you questions then, or did you just become confirmed?
We lined up one line on each side of the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
And the minister walked from each one and asked questions.
What happens if you didn't know the answer?
Well, he just passed to the next one.
Okay, but I suppose some people would get a little nervous and forget their line, wouldn't they?
Yeah, some of them didn't study anyway.
You studied though, didn't you?
Well, I got along pretty good.
Good. How long was that schoolhouse there by the church?
Then I don't remember.
Okay, they tore it down though, I suppose, later on when they...
No, Ivan Hogden bought it and pulled it over home.
Oh, put it on his place.
Yeah.
Okay, they didn't tear it down then.
No.
All right. In the church, nowadays we have like Luther League. Did they have something like Luther League for the young people?
Why else?
Did they call it Luther League or
Hamburger Society.
Young People's Society?
Yeah.
Okay, now was that on, did they have that like on Sunday evenings or was
Yeah.
it during the week?
Sunday evening.
Sunday evenings, okay. And what did you do there? Did you
Well, we played games.
play games and Bible study and...
Then we had a devotion,
Uh-huh.
as you call it.
Now, did the minister lead this, or did one of the other people?
Usually the president of the
Oh,
Luther League.
okay. Were you ever president of the Luther League?
Oh yeah, I was a couple of times.
You were, huh? Were you any other officer in the Luther League? Do you remember?
I was vice president too. I forgot now. Who that was. I can't think of it now.
Mm-hmm. How many years were you involved in that Young People's Society? Do you recall? Was it?
Oh, I suppose from the time you were confirmed till you got married.
Okay. So in your teens, more or less, you went to that then?
Huh?
When you were a teenager,
Yeah.
probably, let's see,
From I was 15 till,
you were confirmed when you were 15?
yeah,
Okay. Till about the time you were 20 or so?
25.
Okay. Any other activities at the Young People's Society? Did they serve lunch and things like that, or did they?
Played games and, yeah.
Now, your father was Gus Bakken.
Yeah, G.E. Bakken,
Okay.
Gustav.
Okay. Now, over here there was the Bakken School. Didn't they call it the Bakken School? Where was that located?
All right, across from Cosloud and
Okay. And that's where you went to school then?
yeah.
Okay. Now, what happened to that school? Did they tear it down or did they move it? Do you remember?
Now they got, it was used to be 4 school districts, then they got into 8.
There was 4. Okay. Was that one school district over here that
Yeah.
you went to? And where were the other 3? Do you remember?
Oh, there was one up by Gilbertson,
Okay, up by Ole Gilbertson's place?
Yeah.
Okay.
and then, where was the other one? There's one over south there, I just can't remember the name now.
Mm-hmm. And then was there one more then, do you remember?
Yeah. I can't think of that either.
But you remember and this was called the Bakken Schoolhouse then?
Yeah,
Okay. And then they went to 8 school districts.
yeah,
And there used to be a school out here where Gerald lives,
yeah, right across from Tullis.
right across from Henry's there.
Yeah,
Why did they go to 8? Was there too many kids or something? Is that why they went to 8 school districts? Or was it too
No.
far to go?
yeah, too far
Too
to go.
far to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many years did you go to school over here at the Bakken school there?
Oh, I suppose, I don't know. From the time I was about 5 till I got confirmed.
Okay.
I got confirmed in 15 in January, confirmed in June, I think.
I see. Now, when you went to school, did you follow a school year like you do now? Like you start in September and go till May or June, or was it shorter than that?
Norwegian, I was just in the summer months a little bit.
I see. Okay. Now, who were some of your school teachers? Do you remember some of your teachers over there?
Well, Ida Josvanger was one.
Ida Josvanger?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was my first one, I think.
First school teacher, okay. Any others you can remember?
Isabel Gilbertson.
Oh, Isabel?
Yeah.
Now, you were related to like Bobby Gilbertson, aren't you? Wasn't his mother, was Isabel a Malice?
Isabel was, she was a Balkan, I think.
Okay, that's how you're related. Any other teachers that you could remember?
Ida Josvanger, Isabel Gilbertson, and was a man teacher for one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't think of his name again.
Were there a lot of men teachers back in those days?
Oh, not too many.
Most of them were women, huh?
Mostly, yeah.
But it was you went to school all Norwegian, no English was spoken.
Huh?
No English was spoken, it was all Norwegian.
No, Norwegian is something that we had English through the winter.
Oh, you had to speak English during that time.
Yeah.
Okay, now, did you go to parochial school then?
Well,
This was parochial school.
This is a parochial school in the summer.
And you had it over at the school.
Yeah.
You didn't have it at church or anything like.
No, well, those of us out from the west had in that school out by the church.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, whatever happened to that old schoolhouse there on the corner, the Bakken School? Did they tear it down?
No. Henry Alton moved it over.
Oh, okay. So it's still sitting over there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Now, did you go to any other school, Ole?
I went to Albert Lee school.
Okay, what was the name of that school? Albert Lee, Minnesota.
Yeah. Luther Academy.
Luther Academy, okay. How long did you go up there?
2 terms.
Okay.
I took commercial the first year and business course the second year.
Okay, so it's commercial and business.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how old were you then when you went up there? Do you remember?
Oh, well, I was 17 when I started.
Okay, and how long did the terms last? Were they a whole year apiece? Or?
No, about 9 months.
Okay, just like a regular school year.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else from around here from the community go to Albert Lee when you went there?
Joseph Dolly did.
Oh, he went at the same time you did?
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of had somebody up there that you knew then.
Yeah.
So. Now, a little bit about your family now. What year did you get married?
1931.
Yes, I remember being over here for your 50th wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
And let's see, your wife was Pauline and Baker, and her father was
Stuart Baker.
Stuart Baker, and he lived over
south there.
Yeah, and does Robert still have that farm?
I think so.
It's called the Baker Farm. Okay. How'd you meet Pauline?
I don't know. I suppose that I just don't remember. It just happened to be at dances and stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the way it happens, doesn't it? Yeah. And so you got married in 1931. Now you had your family now, your children. Can you tell us about your children? Gerald is the oldest.
Yeah, Gerald and Phyllis and Howard. Howard died, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had. And there was a little boy died too. What was his name? He died when he was
Wasn't very old, was he?
you know, 11 months.
Oh, yeah. What, do you remember what year that was, Ole?
What year he died in?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Now, Gerald lives down here on the other farm, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And Phyllis, she's married and lives in
And,
up in Minnesota, doesn't she?
yeah. St. Charles.
St. Charles, Minnesota. Okay. And Howard passed away, I don't remember how many years ago that is now. Cindy, do you remember exactly? It's been... Anyway, Pauline passed away, that must be 2 years ago. Last
Yeah.
month, I believe,
She
already.
died Monday after Easter.
Right. Yes, that's right. Monday after Easter 2 years ago. So, can you tell us a little bit about when the kids were growing up and some of the things you used to do? I know they did a lot of things with horses. Didn't the kids always have horses and ponies and stuff?
Oh yeah, there were 2 ponies here all the time.
And I suppose they were ridden. They never got fat, did they? They were always being ridden.
Yeah. It was in the barn all year round.
Mm-hmm. How old were your kids when they started riding horses or driving horses?
Oh, I suppose Gerald was maybe 2.
2 years old?
Yeah, then we used to ride in a circle and I laid on the ground and headed the rope so the horse wouldn't run away with him.
Mm-hmm. How about Phyllis? She used to ride horses too, didn't she?
Oh yeah.
And Howard did too.
Phyllis won some new ribbons with her horse.
In the horse shows and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always been a lot of horses around the Bakken place.
Yeah.
Now, when you were farming here, you lived in the house over here where Mary Ann lives, didn't you? Okay. Now, did your dad live there before? He built that house and lived there, am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, now did you and Pauline, when you were married, did you live in that house then?
Yeah.
And your father lived there too then?
Yeah, he lived
Okay.
with us a while.
Okay. And
Now I can tell you a little bit about this kid. Well,
go ahead, Ole.
Phyllis used to, they used to ride horses in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And the judge, if you take the order, he say, walk your horses.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, trot your horses. And then they say, cadge your horses. And Phyllis wasn't rebels with that. There's very few that could get that horse to cadge it right off. She got her horse trained so she could get him to cadge it just when she wanted him to.
Was this down at the fair then? Or fairgrounds when they used to have
Yeah.
those horse shows?
Oh,
Was that black horse she used to have?
yeah, Zipper.
Zipper, yeah. That was a pretty good horse. I remember that horse.
Yeah,
And used to do a lot of trail riding too, didn't they?
oh yeah,
And your kids they were active in the saddle club back in those days.
yeah.
I think I think Phyllis was secretary for treasurer, and Howard was an officer, and I suppose Gerald was too at one time.
I think so.
They used to have a lot of trail rides out here
Yeah.
years ago.
When they was here, they started the train ride.
Is this where it started?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize that.
yeah.
You don't know how many years ago that was?
No, I don't.
Probably when they were pretty young then,
Yeah.
Gerald and Howard. Now, your grandfather was Ole Bakken too, wasn't he?
Yeah, Ole Interview.
Now, he came over from Norway,
Yeah,
And where did he settle at first?
You know Glenn's place?
Yeah?
You know down by the spring there?
Okay, way down towards the river down there.
Yeah, just right down by the spring. You know, they tried to settle where they could get water
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't know how to drill a well, you know. So they tried to settle by a spring, and that was good drinking water.
Now, there aren't any buildings left there anymore, are they?
I don't.
That's called the old, what did they used to call that? The old Bakken place, the original Bakken place. And how did you get down there? Did you go?
Well, way back there used to be a road down there, just where that culvert is. Well, that road, you still could walk there.
Yeah, I remember Howard and I used to ride horses down there years ago. And you used to be able to see the road between Glenn Haga's and Helen Erickson's.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can still notice that road down there or not. If you look, if you know, you can kind of see a roadbed going down through there. Now, did they ever come across the other way, across the river, from down, you know, on the pole line road and come?
Oh,
did they ever come that way too?
Yeah, where the airport was.
Right down by Tatros Airport.
Yeah.
That was probably just as close to go to town as the other way, wasn't it?
It was a little closer.
But I suppose it depended upon the river, and
If you wanted to drive the horses through the river.
that could be treacherous, I suppose.
Huh?
I suppose that could be kind of dangerous at times.
Well, I wasn't ordinary. I wasn't any flooding. It wasn't any danger.
Okay. And one thing I didn't mention now, you had a sister,
Yeah, I don't.
Ida Bakken, who married Carl Haga,
Yeah,
and she was a little older than you, wasn't she?
5 years old.
5 years older. And they had 2 children,
yeah.
Glenn
Then Helen
and Helen, who married
Erickson.
Erickson. Okay, and they just still live down the road here. Ida's passed away now.
Yeah.
And Helen lives down there on the bend, and Glenn lives where Carl and Ida had their home. Now, your grandfather, you don't remember what year he came to this country, do you? I mean, you don't remember anybody telling you that. But he was one of the early pioneers around here, wasn't he?
Yeah. He used to drive his auctions.
He drove oxen.
Yeah.
And
It took him 3 days to go to Lansing and get the wheat ground into flour.
now, did they raise the wheat here then?
Yeah,
And then they take it to Lansing and have it ground.
yeah.
I wonder why they used oxen.
Well, that I couldn't just answer, but they did.
They could go kind of slow, don't they?
Yeah.
Or can they pull a bigger load than, say, a horse?
Huh?
Are they steadier, and can they pull more weight than a horse? I wonder.
They could pull the way off.
Somebody was telling me the other day that they used oxen a lot of times on plows to break sod because it pulled so hard.
Yeah, they did that. But they used to for whatever they needed them.
Now, it took them 3 days to go to Lansing and back.
Yeah.
Boy, that would be quite a trip. I imagine the roads weren't very good at that time.
And then if they parked in the ravine overnight, then the Indians wouldn't bother them. But if they parked on top of a hill, then they would.
Well, they had to worry about the Indians still,
Yeah.
huh?
But if they shot in the air in the evening, then they wouldn't. They were scared of a gun. They used bow and arrow.
Now when they took the wheat down to Lansing, this must have been in the early history of Winneshiek County, because they did build mills around the different streams to grind the wheat, didn't they? So this had to be way before they built those mills.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. And then your grandfather, where I live over here, he built that house, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it says 1901 on that one.
Oh, does it?
1901, the same year you were born.
Oh yeah.
Now, who else lived there with him? Was it one of your uncles that lived there too?
No, I don't think there was anybody lived.
Did Ferd live there afterwards?
Yeah, Ferd lived there a while.
No.
Uncle Benny lived there, Bobby lived there.
Okay. And one time you told me that your grandpa used to sit in that house and he could watch the traffic on the different roads.
Yeah, he sat by the north window, he could look north and he could look east, go down and if he looked through the parlor, he could see this place.
Yeah, he could see all the people traveling.
Yeah.
Now, the road going north, that went, how far, that's been there for a long time, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And that was there before the pole line road.
Yeah, they call it the Irish Road.
The Irish Road.
Yeah.
And that's because, why did they call it the Irish Road?
Well, those that lived over north, they were all Irish.
Oh yeah, over towards Bluffton there.
Yeah.
And so they went that route instead of, the pole line road probably wasn't in existence then.
Well, some of them didn't. There was too much traffic for their horses, that they liked better to go here.
Okay. We call it the Happy Hollow Road now,
Yeah, that's right.
but they used to call it the Irish Road years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about your other uncles? You had Benny,
Uncle Benny, Uncle Ferd.
okay, and who else was in your father's family, brothers and sisters?
Christina Yosaga.
Okay, and where did they live?
Oh, you know, Aspenson.
Yes, on the highway over here?
Yeah.
That was their place.
Yeah.
Okay,
And they had 160 acres over here by the river that belonged to them too, that joined the other bucket place.
Okay. So a lot of these houses, like my house, and the house you grew up in, and Bobby's house, and the one over here, they all kind of look alike. Were they built about the same time, do you know?
Well, it was the same carpenter.
The same carpenter
I think.
built those. Okay. Do you remember what his name was?
Oh, Melby.
Melby. Okay.
He built the church too.
He built the church over here at Madison?
Yeah.
He was, now was that in 1905 when they...
1906.
1906 when they did it. Now, I was reading in a history of Madison. Your father was on that committee when they built that.
Yeah, he was.
And did he ever tell you stories about when they built the church?
Oh, I don't know too much about it.
But that was a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
Did they hire these people, or did these people build it just?
They
donate the labor?
They hired this Melby, yeah.
They hired him. He was kind of the foreman then, or main builder.
He was the one that done the planning, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then I think he had 4 men working for him.
You remember that they said how many years it took him to finish it?
Oh, he built that in one summer.
One summer.
Yeah.
Oh. How about now what was wrong with the other church, the old church? There was other church there before, wasn't there? Was that made out of wood?
No, it was one made out of
or was it brick? Okay, it was brick. Now why
brick is still in the ground over there, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. Is it really?
Yeah, I think
never.
so.
Whereabouts in the yard?
If you track down sometime, I think you find
some brick.
They try to lay them, you know.
Mm-hmm. Now, why did they tear down the old church or get rid of it? Was it too small, or was it too old, or?
I thought too small and too old both.
Okay, now was that located about the same
place?
Same place. Okay. So they built that, and I suppose a lot of people in the congregation helped, didn't they, when they donated labor on that?
Well, this Melby kind of took it on.
I see.
Yeah, he had 4 men working for him.
Mm-hmm. And how about the stonework and things like that? Was he in charge of all of that?
No, that Hans Müller made the foundation to put up the rock.
Okay, and where was he from?
He lived up in Madison.
Oh, he was a Madison. What was his last name?
Oh, Dessert.
Okay.
Hans Müller Dessert.
That's what Okay, and
The
he,
reason they call him Hans Muller, that was a stonemason, you know.
oh, in
On
Norwegian. Okay. So they kind of name people for
By the work.
what they did. Yeah, that's interesting. Um, where, do you know where that rock came from? The foundation rock? They had to haul that in from someplace. Do you know what quarry it came from?
I come from the quarry right over north in my woods here.
For the church? You mean that the quarry?
No, the church, that come from down by the river.
Okay. The quarry down by the river. Okay, now this quarry north on the property here, is that the stone that's in your house?
Yeah.
Okay, if you walk back along the creek there, you can see where that old quarry was. And you can
Yeah.
still see the old road there too.
Yeah.
Now, when they were building this church, how about the lumber? Do you know if that was that homesawed lumber, or did they buy it at a lumber yard?
They bought it at the lumber yard.
They bought it all at the lumber yard because I suppose they needed some really long dimension.
Yeah.
One time you told me you were over to my place and you were telling me you used to come over there when your grandpa lived there.
Yeah.
And used to go over and visit him. And one time he had appendicitis. Tell me about that again when they...
He had an operation right on a Sunday. They got a doctor, what was his name, from Cresco. Well, he come from Cresco, but, and then the doctor stopped when they operated him on Sunday. And
You were over there then at the time?
yeah, I was there, and Georgie was there. Well, that's where Georgie first lived.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought she was gonna, well, like they were operating on that room there now, she thought she'd be right here. And I happened to be right around it. And she said, "Ole, grab me," she said. I said, "Why?" "I'm fainting." And I got her off in the pantry and gave her a drink of water and got some of her clothes off. They wore corsets, you know, at that time. And she, boy, I think if I hadn't got on, I would have passed out then. And the youth singer was there, and they thought their grandpa was going to die, you know.
Mm. Now, this was for appendicitis?
Yeah.
And you showed me the room over there that they operated with on him, that little room there on the south.
Yeah.
Now, they wouldn't be able to put him to sleep or anything, would they?
Not too much. They didn't where they're going to cut.
And that was about it.
Yeah.
And then what'd they have to do then? Hold him down? Some guys
Yeah.
have to hold him then?
Yeah, my dad stood right over him on his knees and held him down when they operated. That was awful.
Yeah, I suppose it was really painful.
Yeah.
But he recovered and everything, and
Oh, yeah, he lived a couple of years afterwards.
Mm.
He even split wood afterwards.
Oh man! But that'd been tough having an operation like that.
Well, they didn't do it that winter, same winter, but he done the next winter.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. I want to get back to the church now. Some of the ministers you used to have up there. Can you remember who the first minister that you remember? Who confirmed you? I should say that. Do you remember who confirmed you?
Pastor Nielsen.
Nielsen. Okay. Do you remember? Well, you don't remember it, but you know who baptized you?
No,
Do you recall? Did they tell you?
no, I don't remember that.
Okay, so after Nielsen, then the minister. Do you remember who the ministers were?
Jordan was one.
Jordal. Now, would that be like D.T. Jordal's father?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Any other ministers that you can remember? They seem to stay at Madison for quite a while.
I think it was one Savin.
Okay. Now, at this time, Madison and Lincoln, they had a minister between them, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay. And then a few years ago, Madison And after the church burned down at Lincoln, they combined with Peace, and then it was Orleans and Madison together in 3 congregations in the one parish, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was after the Lincoln Church burned down.
Yeah.
Any other ministers that you can remember
No, I
years
can't.
ago? Now, the service was always in Norwegian,
Yeah, mostly.
mostly in Norwegian. Do you remember approximately what year it was changed and it went to English?
Well, the poor minister tried to start English a little now and then for quite a while. I can remember he got entirely sweat when he tried to preach English.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
People probably wanted to keep the Norwegian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, but I
Yeah.
suppose, was it back in the 30s or the 40s when they started having, I don't really know when they started, must have been in the 40s that they started English services?
Must have been something like that.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you can remember about the church? Now you were, I should ask you, you were probably on the council and things like that during your lifetime, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
President and council member, and probably many times.
Huh?
I said you were probably on the council many times.
Oh, a couple of times, yeah.
And do you remember any particular things that went on when you were on the council or an officer?
Well, was one thing they tried to, they tried to change it into English, and I got right up and I said, that's all right, I said, but you don't want to change it all at once.
Uh-huh.
You change gradually. I said, I can name at least 4 people, I said, they're in church right now, I said, that don't understand English. And I said, you gotta do something for them too.
Well, that's a good point, because a lot of those people never spoke English never spoke English at home.
No.
And when I lived in my grandma Haugen over here, they never spoke English, and I spoke Norwegian until I was 4.5 years old. And I can see where some of those middle-aged people or older people, it'd be tough for them to learn English or go through that when they've been used to it all their life, the Norwegian version. Well, that was a good point you brought up, Ole. Did they gradually change it over to English then, rather than just all at once, like you suggested?
It took a few years to change it.
It took a while then.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I suppose people got used to it, and it didn't bother them so much anymore.
No.
Now, once in a while, they used to have a Norwegian service.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, didn't they?
Yeah. And then, of course, when we went to communion years ago, when I first you started to go to communion when you got confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
And then years ago, on Saturday afternoon, you registered. And then the minister put your name down, and, well, if you went to the man used to register him and her,
Mm-hmm.
But it was a widow, and then she had to register herself. And then when you registered, the minister asked you the same as they say when you're baptized, 3 words, and then you had to shake hands on that. If you wanted to go communion on that, what he asked you.
Now, you had to do this registration on Saturdays.
On Saturday afternoon.
So you had to go and make a special trip over to church and do this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
You registered on Sunday too,
Okay. But you could go over there on... Now, did you go to the church then, or you had to go to the parsonage? You went to the church and did
Church,
this?
yeah.
Okay. Now, on communion now, years ago, did they have the communion service? Was it the same as it is now? Or basically the same?
Yeah.
There hasn't been that many changes. Can you think of any other any changes that
So
have
when
taken?
we had the reunion, we always kneeled up at the altar, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, back then, did the women sit on one side and the men on the other?
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
And what was the reason? What is the reason for that? Is that?
Well, I tell you, you drove horses, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the men would go and tie their horses while you drove up to the church and helped your wife out of the buggy as she went in. And then there would be other women, the same thing, and they all come in together, you know, on the west side. And years ago, they used to use that east door.
Mm-hmm.
And then the men used to come in that door.
Oh, I see. Well, I can remember not too many years ago, I used to see women still sitting on the east side and the men sitting on, the women sitting on the west side and the men sitting on the east side. I remember that when I was a kid. That they just kept that custom going, I guess.
Was there a place at the church where they kept the horses then? Did they have a special place to tie up?
Well, they had sheds along the way where them trees are now. There were sheds you could drive into. Those that wanted to build it, you paid to have them sheds built. And then you could write your name on there where you drove in, and then nobody else could take that shed then on, you had to write.
You paid, and then you had you had a spot if you paid. But if you hadn't paid, then you had to tie your horse outside. Is that?
Huh?
You tied outside someplace if you hadn't paid for
Yeah,
a
it was
shed.
close to the south side there.
And were those sheds on the east side of the church then?
Huh?
Were those sheds on the east side of the
No,
church?
on the west side.
They were on the west side.
About where that grove is now, probably?
Yeah,
Okay. How many horses, how big was that shed? How many horses could they keep in there?
well, it depends on how many boats, you know. I don't know, 2 for each shed, you know, you could drive right in and then,
Did you just keep the buggy hitched up then, or?
yeah, if you had a team that went back out, all right.
Okay. And I suppose the minister, he had his own special place then.
Yeah, you had to just come around, he drove straight north right into his other time. He would get out of the buggy and if Gerald out and I happened to be there, he said, you better take care of my team. He said, and that team would walk up to the shed by themselves and then we'd go and tie them and put the blanket on them if it was cold.
Mm-hmm. I suppose they knew where to go.
Yeah.
And I suppose they tore those sheds down back in the 40s, maybe?
Something like that. That I couldn't tell you the year.
Okay. You don't remember how much it cost to have a spot there to keep your horse in there? Did it
Yeah.
just depend? Did they have a set rate then?
Well, when they built them, it cost $20 each shed.
They just kept adding on to them?
You know, they built so many. Well, whoever wanted the shed then tried to do all of the same.
Okay. That's how they did get enough people lined up where they could build them up. Now, did you have church? I suppose you had church every Sunday, didn't you?
Every other Sunday.
Every other Sunday.
Yeah, Lincoln had one Sunday every other.
Oh, so the minister, I suppose he didn't have, it took quite a while to travel between the Madison church and the
And he
Lincoln
traveled with
church.
horses, you know.
Yeah. So every other Sunday.
Yeah.
Did you ever have joint worship services? Like have a service at one instead of the other, where both people could go on a holiday or anything?
Well, they used to have one day, they used to have a picnic dinner at the parsonage. And then we had communion and everything there, right there,
Okay.
once a year.
Was that like in the spring of the year or the summer?
Well, in the summer when it was good weather.
Mhm.
Then we had hot lunch or dinner.
I see. Right at the parsonage.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other things you can tell us about, you remember from church services or over at the church that has changed in the last few years?
Uh, I can't tell you too much.
Now, a couple things. Well, we can get back here. I want to mention something about farming. You've been farming all your life. How old were you when you started? You said Gerald was. Your kids were 2 years old when they started riding horses. How old were you when you started driving horses?
Oh,
What do you think?
I dragged with horses when I was 9 years old.
9 years old. Okay. And you did
I
it.
used to go hurry home from school, and then I dragged. His dad had been planting corn or something, and he had the horses harnessed and ready to go. And then I hurried home from school, and I tried to get dragged what he'd planted that day.
Try to get caught up then.
Yeah.
Now, you told me one time that your dad had one of the first corn planters around. Can you tell us about that corn planter?
Well, they fit in now you on the roads east and west. Yeah, we call it east and west, north and south. And he drove, one drove, and Dad used to sit there and pull and marked it, you know, first. And then when they come with the corn planter, then when he got to that mark, then he pulled the lever. That's where they planted the first corn.
So they had to go across the other way first
Yeah,
to mark it and then come across.
yeah.
And they had to, you said,
Well, like we on the roads east and west here, then you go north and south to start with, and then when you come to plant, then when you hit that mark, you pull the lever.
okay, and that dropped the corn into, they had something and put it in that mark there so you'd have a straight row.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't remember approximately what year that was?
No, I don't.
Now, was that a metal corn planter, or now how did the person drive the team and then mark and pull that lever at the same time? Couldn't you get?
No, one driver, one man, well, two men to do it.
Oh, there's two men on the planter.
Yeah.
Okay, one guy took care of the team and the other one did the.
Jockey.
Did you get pretty straight rows then?
Oh, pretty good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also told me that at one time you had one of the first tractors around here. Did you get one of the first tractors? Or,
No,
or who do you remember having one of the first tractors in the neighborhood?
No, I don't, exactly.
But you,
I farmed with horses quite a while.
what year do you remember approximately when you got a tractor?
No, I don't.
And back in those days when we did get tractors, I suppose a lot of men you had a lot of hired people back in those days, didn't you?
Well, everybody had a hired man at that time.
Pardon?
Everybody.
Everybody had a hired man.
Well,
Maybe some of them had more than one, huh?
No, not too many.
Not too many. So I imagine when
Well, they put in harvest time, you'd hire a man, extra man to help shock the grain, you know.
and you went around and thrashed at different places then,
Yeah.
people in the neighborhood. Who owned the machine that the crew you were on?
Hildred, Tullison or Hildred, Nils Hildred owned the threshing machine.
How many different farms did you go to during the?
About 8.
About 8 different ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember who was in that? Who was in that group?
Oh, no, I don't. There was a Tussnantins and Uncle Ferd, Uncle Benny, and Pilgrim, Charlie, what was that other name? Clem Pilgrim was one, yeah.
So it was just right here, just pretty close by then.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's what most of the people did, had their own thrashing crew.
yeah.
They used to have that was a lot of hard work, wasn't it?
Oh, that
But you had a
was,
lot of fun too, didn't you, on those,
had a lot of good meals.
oh, Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine. They still...
Dinner, lunch, and so, and a lot of them had early lunch or supper.
Now, did you raise a lot of oats back in... Is it just oats that you raised, or what did you raise?
Well, the way I farmed, I put in, if I had 50 acres of corn this year, then in order to save the horses, then the next year I just seeded it on top of the corn stalk and then dished it in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year I had the same, if I had oat this year, corn this year, then next year it'd be same acreage of corn, or oats I mean.
I see. You just kind of rotated it
Yeah.
that way. Did you raise any... You didn't raise any wheat, did you?
Oh, so a little bit, yeah.
No, did you sell that, I suppose? Is that a cash crop, or did you use it for your own?
I just used it for my own.
Okay, and barley, did you raise any barley?
Oh yeah, I used to raise barley all for good stuff for the hogs to make swill out of.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Was there a lot of barley raised in the neighborhood?
Oh, pretty so, yeah.
That was a little bit mean to thrash, wasn't it?
Well, it was mean to shock and trash both. But then I done a little different shocking. And I told two of us. I said, let two of us shock, you used to four. And you'd be on this side and I'd be on this side. And we set the shock up. Then we didn't have to touch them, you know.
Oh, yeah, those beards or those barbs on there can really make a person itch,
Oh,
can't
you
they?
got to each along the sides then.
Now, how about when they blew that, did they blow that barley in a stack then? Did
Yeah.
somebody have to be up there?
Well, if you wanted to save the store, they stacked it, but both of them blew it in a pile.
Oh, they just got rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was too miserable to work with. Now, you told me one time that you used to work on the road here. Did you used to maintain the road at one time?
Yeah, I maintained the road for 10 years.
Okay, and how big an area did you have? Where did you go? What was your territory? How much of the road?
Well, I found, you know where Township line starts out here, don't you?
Towards Decorah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had that and up to the second crossroad there and then south to the bridge. You know, you couldn't go across the bridge with that drag, you know.
What did that drag look like?
Well, it's just iron about that high. They were about 4 feet apart, and then you could stand on there. There were two levers. You could put them straight, or you could low. I always had the front one straight, and the back one slanted a little bit. Then that dragged it to.
How many times did you have to drag it then during?
Well, whenever it had rained, so it got caught up with the road, you know. You didn't drag if it didn't rain.
And I suppose the roads, of course we got this beautiful road here now, this paved road,
Yeah.
but I imagine years ago it got pretty muddy and
Oh, yeah, it was
soft.
rough that deep, you know.
When they started, I suppose you pulled a lot of guys out with cars, didn't you, with the team?
Huh?
Pull a lot of people out that got stuck with cars.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Now, what about this road going north, past the Happy Hollow Road? Did you have to grade that one too?
Well, I went as far as till you go down that hill, because there was too much rock that you dragged that, so I dragged down there, then come another one from the other way and dragged to on top of the hill.
You mean how far north did you go again?
Over the Stingins and there.
Oh, okay, or down there, and then that's as far as you went.
Yeah.
Okay. But that road was used quite a bit then, like you said before, by the Irish, huh?
Oh, it was quite a bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any other, you farmed all the time, but any other jobs that you worked on? Or work out, or work for people?
I dragged the roads and then we exchanged work trashing, you know.
Mm-hmm. You went out, did you work out in North Dakota one time too?
No, not really.
Or just visit out there?
I was out there visiting, but I have done Galar's shock or trash there when I was out there.
Lars, what was his last name?
Mellow.
Oh, okay. Is that on your mother's side then?
Yeah, that was on
What part of North Dakota did he live in?
Maddock.
Oh, he lived around Maddock area. Okay. Uh,
6 horses, 3 teams after each other.
3 teams after. What were you doing then, Ole?
And we had a grader, we graded the road. And, you know, some places it was so hard to have. Most of them had 4 horses behind and 2 ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're going down the station, and I said, I'll drive all 6. So I got paid for 2 men then for 4 days.
Who was your boss then?
Gilbert Houghton.
Gilbert Hubden. Now, where did he live?
Oh, he lived over on the pole line road there.
On the old, what they call the old Hubden place there, or on the north side there?
Yeah.
Now, is that related to Kenneth?
Yeah, that was his dad.
That was his father, okay. And he was, what was he, a road foreman, or did he work for the county or the township?
Well, they picked him as the road boss.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
And you worked for him and drove 6 horses.
yeah.
Now, how did you get paid for 2 men? Now, how did that come about?
Because I had.
Did he tell you he was going to do that, or?
Well, you see, it wasn't put everybody drove just one team, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I drove his team and 2 of our team, so I got paid for 2 men.
Well, that's good.
For 4 days.
That's good. Can you tell us about anything, fires or windstorms or tornadoes or anything that happened out here in Madison that you can remember that were particularly bad, or floods in Decorah or anything?
Well, that brick house where Gerald lived, that I just barely remembered, but I remember better what they told me about it. There was a terrible wind come, and it was different things to be done, and there's a 2-by travel, you know, and I don't know how long it was, but I went through the window and into the wall so hard that it took 2 men to pull it out again.
Went right in the wall.
Yeah.
Man, that was probably a tornado maybe that came through there.
Yeah, it was.
Anything else? Did you have any other buildings get damaged in any windstorms that you can remember?
No, not too much, no.
Any fires or any sickness or
Well, when they had that sickness for many years, so many died, then, you know, we didn't dare to go and visit anybody.
do you remember what was it, the disease?
Huh?
What was the disease? Was it a fever or something, or?
Well, you went to sleep and didn't wake up again.
Yeah.
It was a kind of sleeping sickness.
Was that for quite a while, or was it just one year, or last a year, or was
They
it
were
quite?
able to help it in about a year. It was mostly in the winter time.
Okay.
My dad was about the only one that dared to go and visit anybody. The aunties, they take up and sell food over to them, but they didn't dare to go in the house with it, so Dad went over there and took it into the house for him. And he never got it. He went to different ones.
He helped him out then.
Huh?
He helped him out.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of people around that died from it? Do you know?
Oh,
In the
I can't
community?
remember. There was a few that died, yeah.
I suppose in the whole county there was quite a few.
Yeah.
What about if there was an emergency? Would the neighbors, if there was a fire, who would come to help you put it out? Or did different ones help?
Whoever could, you know. Yeah. And they had that fire over to Inglevis, and I happened to be up in the ladder. Somebody was here, right here, there's an apple orchard right here. And somebody came and wanted some apples, and then one would hold the ladder, you know, and I wasn't more scared of climbing, so I tried, you know, the apples were a lot better if you could pick them right off the tree instead of shaking them down.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to climb that tree and had that ladder and pick the apples in the pit.
And then did you see a fire, or?
Yeah, I seen the fire, and then I got hold of my brother-in-law, and we got some pails, we went down there, and I had, they got a rope through over there, I and another boy, we sat on top of the roof, and they got pails up, and they poured water on the roof, and the roof was so warm that it dried the water off right away. That was very dangerous, but I done it.
Now, was that on the house you said?
Huh?
Was that on the house?
Yeah,
Now that Ingebrigtsen place, is that
straight south from there.
where Keeney's live now? Is it over here on this road and then on top of the hill there?
And the crossroads, the first crossroads that goes south,
The first place on the right?
on the left.
On the left, okay. Okay. Now the house, you saved the house then?
Yeah, well, I
You
did.
didn't, you got the fire out so it didn't, yeah, how many people showed up there? It was you and Carl and
Oh,
a bunch of the other neighbors?
yeah, I quite a few come by, but wasn't too many to start with. And it started in the toilet right by the house. The guy that was there used to smoke cigarettes, and I bet you anything he was the one that dropped the cigarette in the paper basket there.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, but nobody knows for sure. I didn't dare to say that to you.
No. How about any other fires around that you can remember?
No, I don't remember exactly.
I didn't live through it, Ole, but back in the Depression, were things kind of tough around for people?
Yeah, it sure was, yeah.
But you farmed through that area, or through that time period. But I suppose there was a lot of people looking for work?
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of people coming here looking for work or wanted to hire on, or?
Oh yeah, quite a few, yeah. I know Dad, he hired 3 newcomers. They didn't have any place to stay. They come here around 5 o'clock in the afternoon and asked if somebody, Carl Hagen, from the car brought them out here. And then they slept in the same room as I did. And so Dad, the next day, he had them cut brush where we got a fence. And before the week was over, they all had a job.
Were they Norwegians or were they just?
Yes,
The
football and Norwegian.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't talk English.
They couldn't.
No.
Your dad, or you used to cut a lot of wood over north here too, didn't you? You used to
Yeah.
sell wood.
Yeah, he sold cordwood. One winter he sold 100 cords of wood.
Now you take that to Decorah and then sell it, or were they people order it and then he deliver it to their houses then?
Yeah, well, some ordered and some he sold it in town. They had a lot of wood to haul there at the team.
It was all split and everything, and
It was split ready to.
did you get in on hauling some of that wood?
Oh yeah, I hauled ones.
How about other hired men that you used to have here? You told me about a hired man one time. He's buried up at the Orleans church.
Yeah, Charlie Gunderson, Cheated.
And who was he a hired man for? You or was it Unsteins?
No, for Uncle Ferd.
Uncle Ferd, okay. Can you tell us about him? He came over from Norway and...
Yeah, he worked for Ferd for about 20 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't talk English.
And then his wife, you said his wife and children were still in Norway?
Yeah, they were there.
And they never came over, did they?
No. And then when I thought, I was the one that got the mail that day. You know, the mailbox was out by the road. And I got the mail and I felt that letter was a little different. And so I gave it to him, and after I gave it to him, he wasn't able to say anything. He felt of the letter, and he took hold of my hand and led me along upstairs, and he lay down in bed and started to cry, and he looked, and there was a picture of his daughter that he'd never seen. And then his wife in Norway then got married again. Then he started to drink. He didn't care for anything.
But he never did get to see his daughter then?
No, just that picture.
Just that picture?
Yeah.
And then was he working for Ferd when he passed away?
Huh?
Was he working for Ferd when he passed away?
No, That I think he worked for his sister up in Orleans.
Okay.
Goodness.
She was married to a Gunhus. Okay. And then you told me one time he was buried there, right?
Yeah.
You told me where it was, and I went up on the way to Harmony, and I stopped, and it was exactly where you told me, right south of the church there.
Yeah. And you know, they had the rule up there, if you didn't belong to the church, you couldn't be buried there, you know, they had to go to the church. And he never went to church, and here he died, and so his sister, and they said, you wasn't allowed to do that. And she said, after the funeral, somebody left a little smirk, and he said, you wasn't allowed to do that. She said, I could bury a horse you owned. She said, I buried them right between those two. He said, it's very narrow, but she said, don't need to ask you what to bury there. She said, that's or she could bury whatever she wanted to there.
Did he have any other family over here besides the sister? You know?
Well, Hansmüller, goodness. Well, Hansmüller and goodness, that's the only two.
That was the only two then?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one thing, this cemetery over here by Gilbertson's,
Yeah.
now is that cemetery, that's part of the Madison Church. Is that an older cemetery, or what is the story on that?
That's where they first started to bury people.
After the two churches separated.
Yeah.
And then they started burying them over there by the church then?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other hired men that you can think of that you had that were different personalities, or?
No, they were all Norwegians. They usually worked so long that one, Chicha, they called him, he worked for Dad for 7 years.
Hmm. Then they'd usually work for a while and try and save up some money and then move on someplace else? Is that what they did?
Well, they tried to save it. He sent everything to Norway except about $15 every year.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. And here,
$15 every year or every month?
no, he sent all he made through the summer back to his wife in Norway, and he saved $15 for himself to have.
Wow. That was, of course he got room and board and everything, so.
Yeah.
So, $15 wouldn't go far nowadays, would it?
Well, he didn't need much. He didn't.
No, they didn't need much.
He was never dressed up or anything. He just bought a new overall and jacket. And
Any other hired men you had, or people that worked here?
yeah, Ole Feltman worked for me.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned one time that Ole really knew how to handle horses.
Huh?
You told me one time that Ole Flatland was a good horseman.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Him and I got along pretty good.
You remember, what was the name of that Hubden that used to trade horses?
Oh, Gerald Houghton traded. I traded with him a couple of times.
What was that? Oh, you were telling me one time about a horse that you got and it jumped out of a truck or something like that. Can you remember that story? Was that from Helmer Hubden?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Oh, I traded and then the guy was kind of smart and he said, well, I told him that horse wasn't too safe. And well, he said, the other guy said, well, he said, I can drive anything only Bucking didn't drive it. They put him in the truck and he jumped out and that guy said, I don't think you can handle that horse. He said, you better, and well, he didn't. So he hooked him out and he run away with him. And so then I got it back and I drove him all right. I got along pretty good with him.
But he couldn't drive him very well.
No.
Yeah, some people just have a knack with him, don't they?
Huh?
Some people just can work with horses better than other people.
Oh, yeah.
How many horses did you have on the place then when...
Oh, I had 9 work horses and 1 single horse. One that I used.
A buggy horse?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One time you told me about you had a horse, or somebody had a horse and it wouldn't go any farther, and he took a match.
Yeah.
Can you tell us that story?
Well, he balked, you know, and he wasn't going. He even laid down. And I happened to be around there. He said, I'm going to shoot that horse. He said, I was so good anyway. I said, I'll cure that. I said, you got a couple of matches? Yeah, he said, I got it. He said, you can't get that horse off. He laid right down on the ground. He stopped. And I lifted up the tape and lit the matches and burned her up he went. He never balked anymore.
You really cured him then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good cure. Any other things you had with horses? Now, what kind of horses did you have on, like for driving? Were they trotting horse type things, or?
Oh, they were lighter than the workhorse were Belgians.
They used Belgians then, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And some of them really move out, those driving horses? The buggy horse, I suppose you wanted them to move right along, so they were a lot faster.
Oh yeah, you could drive right along with them if you had those hunting. They used to have some awfully good buggy horses.
Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to go to Decorah and back with a driving horse?
Oh, I could go from here to Decorah in 25 minutes with the horse.
Mm.
That's if it wasn't hot in the
Yeah.
winter.
Then you used a cutter in the wintertime then?
Oh yeah. At that time, you know, they didn't push the snow off. You used the cutter. So one time it was 100 days of sleigh through the winter.
100 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose if they didn't plow, it was tough to get to town then.
Huh?
I suppose it was tough to get to town then, if the drifts and things.
I had to get a grocery for 3 neighbors. Their horses, they couldn't get up to go through the snow. So I had to go to town and get the grocery for them. I drove over way up to the buildings with the grocery for them 3 days after each other. Well, it wasn't 3 days steady, but they ordered. So when I went to town, I brought the grocery with me a couple times a week or whatever. Yeah, that was quite a job to drive 6 horses on the grader.
Yeah, that. Any other horses that you could remember, Ole, that were exceptional that you had? Now, how often did you? Now, when it was snowed like that, what'd you do with your cream?
Huh?
What did you do with your cream then if you were snowed in? Did they come around and get the cream?
Oh yeah, well we tried to drive. I always took a team and drove so far. Somebody else took a team and drove. Tried to get the road open for the cream hauler.
Then in the wintertime, if you sold hogs, I suppose you'd have to take them to town in a bobsled, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And if you had quite a few hogs, that'd probably take you quite a while to haul them all in, wouldn't it?
Well, we helped each other. Usually one time we hauled from my place with 18 so you had 8 hogs to a load.
8 hogs to a load, okay. And how many trips did you have to make then? Each make one trip?
Well, if you had neighbors help you, you hauled hogs one day for me and one day for the next one and so forth.
Okay. So you just, back in those days, you did a lot of work back and forth with each other?
Oh yeah, never thought anything of it.
No? Didn't feel obligated or anything like that, or they didn't take advantage?
And we cut wood together, we hauled wood together, we sawed wood together, and exchanged work a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Split wood, that was kind of a tiresome job.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Took quite a while to get that done. Of course, you get your muscles in shape.
And you try to get the wood sawed in the fall, and then you split it through winter whenever you had a little time.
Did you saw it in the fall, so maybe it wasn't quite so dry, so it wasn't hard on the saw, or did that make any difference?
Well, you saw it when you had time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Christian, Henry Christian.
Well, is Henry Christian, is he the same one that used to haul cream?
Yeah,
Uh-huh. You know, you were telling me one time over there where I lived, that old ice house there.
yeah.
And you said that was the oldest building on that place.
Over your
Yeah, on your grandpa's place there. And you used to haul, did you used to haul ice from the
Yeah.
river?
Yeah.
Can you kind of tell us what you did and how you went about that, or did you have to cut it yourself, or
Well, they caught it and sold it to you.
Okay, where was it cut at? I mean, where'd you haul it from?
From the river, right where the big bridge is there.
By Tavener Bridge?
Yeah.
Okay, and somebody had an ice,
Oh,
somebody
they-
else would cut it, and then you just haul it home.
Yeah, they had ice, and they usually got about 7 chunks. Then they had to put a rope around the back, and the fellow had a team and pulled it right onto your sleigh.
Oh, they just loaded it for you too, huh?
Yeah,
How many chunks could you haul?
that was one load.
Just seven
7 chunks.
7 chunks.
Yeah.
Okay, how did you get it in the ice house then?
Well, they had a hook with 2 handles on it,
Okay.
and when you pull the handles together, where the hooks went into the ice.
Okay, just like those little ice hooks that they used to use for
Yeah.
ice boxes.
Yeah.
Did it take 2 men then to lift it?
Well, they used a pulley up in there, and then they had the one horse pulled it up.
I see. And then how did you store it? You put,
Sawdust on
you
it.
packed it in sawdust.
Yeah.
Now how long would that ice last that way?
Oh, all summer.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
So you had ice all the time, and you could have cold lemonade and everything else if you wanted it, huh?
Oh, yeah, you could use ice bread if you wanted to.
Now, then you used it, put it in the ice box then,
Well,
mostly, or?
we had it in the cream house there, you know. If you wanted ice for something, you take a chisel or something and cut some
Mhm.
off, put in whatever you wanted to. It wasn't too handy, but
Now, did you have an ice house over in your place?
no, we didn't.
Did you get ice then from Ferd and
Yeah.
Benny, or?
Well, we usually, we had it fixed up so when they pumped water, it went right through the tank in the
Mhm.
cream house and into a cistern.
Yep, that's still there.
And that cooled it.
A lot of things have changed, haven't they, since
Yeah.
you started farming? Anything else about a horse? Any horses that you had, Ole? Or the church?
Well, that one horse I used to go singing, drove him to church and to town and all over. And people used to, it was funny, they used to like was a line of posts here. You drove right up and tied them, and you tied your team there, and she could tie her team on this side, and then horse would never fought.
They never did, huh?
No, never.
Well, they were probably worked enough so they didn't have any.
No, but they were just like they were broke after. They got so used to being drove and stood by each other.
Pretty calm then. You never had any trouble then, even like we went to church and all those horses were together.
Huh?
When you went to church with all those horses tied there, they never bothered each other.
No,
Never had a problem.
no.
Well, I want to thank you, Ole. We'll come back again one day, and we're going to do this again. And we'll probably have maybe Gerald and Phyllis and that. And we want to take another one and maybe go a little more depth on your family.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that I want to mention that happened in the rural areas when you got electricity. That was quite a thing, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Things really changed. You know, it's hard to believe how a person can live now without electricity, but people got by, didn't they?
Well, we had batteries before we got electricity.
Well, you had one of those battery systems.
Yeah,
Did you have a?
but we didn't have any power. You couldn't pump water or anything. And they had a motor in the basement to charge the batteries once a week.
Okay, you didn't have one of those? I've seen those with a generator on a windmill
Yeah,
too. Did you
some
have
had-
those too?
No, I didn't have that, but Tullison had that.
Oh, he had one of those.
Yeah.
But when you did have that electric lights like that, that was really something too, wasn't it? You didn't have to use the kerosene lanterns.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny, if we didn't have any fires with them kerosene, they hung them on the wall, you know. Sometimes they'd blow out and it was windy and
Yeah, I often wondered why there weren't more fires from that. They seemed like they might be a little dangerous, especially if you dropped them.
yeah.
Many, many changes. Well, Ole, thank you very much.
Yeah, you sure was, yeah.
And I'm Carlton Haugen, and it's been Carlton Haugen and Sidney Steinus interviewing Ole Bakken here, and has given us a lot of insight here on Madison Township and the Madison Church, starting this oral history project at Madison Church. There it is. Yeah, Ole, you mentioned when we finished there right after about the choir. Can you tell us about the choir there at church?
And we practiced once a week and then we sang on Sunday whenever it was church.
The church was every other Sunday at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you sang in it?
Yeah, I tried to, yeah.
How many people were in the choir? Was there quite a few at that time?
Oh yeah, it was up to 20, I suppose.
Oh, up to 20.
Yeah.
Now, when you sang, was it up in the balcony or
Yeah,
down?
up in the balcony.
Who was your director? Do you remember?
Dagmar Jordan.
Oh, is that the minister's wife then?
No, she wasn't a minister's wife. She was, no, Dagmar Lightfoot, I think it was.
Okay.
She was a minister's daughter.
The minister's daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. And what you practiced during the week?
Yeah, on Tuesday night usually.
Tuesday nights. Okay, what time would you get there then? After chores, or did you get out of chores to go to this?
No, about 8 o'clock.
About 8?
8 to 10.
Okay, well, 2 hours.
Well, didn't matter. I mean, that was the hour too.
Mm-hmm. And that, how many years did you sing in that choir?
Oh, that I don't remember. We sang to quit it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Did you sing every Sunday, or
Well, it was every other.
I mean, every other Sunday, or every?
Yeah, we
at
sang when it
church?
was church, you know.
Because I can remember when I was a kid, we had a choir there that sang every Sunday. And of course, I think there was a lot more members at that time.
Yeah. Where are you going from here then?
Well,